Hello, everybody. Everyone hear me? Great. If I'm a little off today, I just got off a plane about 2 hours ago, so I apologize. If I talk too slow, let me know. It's funny. My wife was like, "Adam, can we just buy a house in Texas somewhere?" I go, "Why?" She's like, "Well, you're always there. You always seem to be in." And I guess by all these like banners, I can they can sweep the floor with this thing. No, but honestly, folks, I have TABA has a very special place in my heart. The people at this conference 5 years ago offered me an opportunity to speak and let my feelings known and let my thoughts known as to what I wanted to change in the TPA industry. I've been in the TPA industry since I was 16 years old. It's all I know. I've been representing self-funded plans from the time I became a lawyer, which was 11 years ago. So again, it's all I know is ERISA law and representing TPAs and self-funded plans. And TABA really gave me an opportunity 5-6 years ago to be one of the first times I've spoken. Now, like Joni mentioned, Joni, I always call people back. It's never more than a day. But you're right, Cindy does answer a lot of my calls. But it's been a blessing, and I really want to thank the board of TABA for giving me the opportunity to speak here again, and for Glenn for the fine introduction. But with that, now I'm going to get rolling and tell you what I think and what's happening in the industry. Really quick point on PPOs I want to bring up. We're seeing a big change. In the past, I would say 3 months alone, and I'm going to touch on this later on as well. In the past 3 months alone, the amount of, I would say, leverage that we're now beginning to have when it comes to the PPO industry, the PPO marketplace, not only nationwide but in individual states, is growing exponentially. I'm going to talk about what's happening in Massachusetts a little bit today and also some tomorrow morning as well. But there's no question in my mind that a lot of the ideas and the things that we talked about 2-3 years ago, where people were like, "Oh no, you can't do that," are now being put in place. I think TPAs are being a lot smarter when it comes to how they're dealing with their PPO networks, and I think the PPO community is starting to see that and realizing, hey, we actually might have to listen to these folks and not just strong arm them all the time. Plan documents. I would love to find out where this is. But that's what most people think of plan docs, okay? Not me. If anybody here works with my company, we have one of our top lawyers, a guy by the name of Ron Peck. 4 years ago, we had a meeting in Texas, and Ron goes to the meeting. It was his first ever client meeting, and in the meeting, he actually said that plan documents are his best friends. Now, that's a little weird to me. I wouldn't go that far. But there's no question that in my mind, based on everything that Glenn was talking about earlier regarding costs, all this stuff flows and stems from your plan documents. I know you've heard me say it before. Anyone that's heard me talk knows that plan documents are a very important thing. But here's what drives me crazy, folks. And I think most of the people here have had this situation happen to them. It's great that you have an idea. It's great that you have this large bill and that you found this audit company, okay? A great audit company to go and look at that bill and they say, this bill is, overpriced by 400%. You should pay this bill at Medicare plus 120%, or Medicare plus 200, or base it on other providers in the area, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard that. Then you pay it at that charge, and then the hospital hires some law firm. Usually it's the same law firms over and over again. They get hired, or they have some lawyer internally, but typically it's an outside firm. And what you'll notice is they sue you, or they argue that they will file a lawsuit against you. Happens every day. I get a phone call. Adam, will you help me? Sure. Let me see that big 200-page plan doc of yours. I get the plan document. Nowhere in the plan doc does it give the TPA the right to do what it is that they're doing. In fact, many of the times, I'll look at the plan document, and you know what it'll say? Oh, out-of-network claims are paid at 95% of bill charges. You don't have a right to audit the claim. You don't have a right to do anything other than keep your mouth shut and pay it. So in many situations, I feel, and this is something that I've been talking about for years, and I'm not aiming at any individual person, it's more of the fact that we have, as an industry, have to do a better job. When we have these kind of situations, and these providers, these hospitals, whoever it might be, because hospitals hate being called providers, so let's call them hospitals. Hospitals sue you, or the plan, and they win, all we're doing is making bad law for ourselves. Because the judges aren't smart enough to figure out the differences in the plan language, etc., because that's not their expertise. I mean, you literally have to do this for years and years and years to make this something that you could truly understand. I mean, there's still some stuff I read in plan docs that I have no idea how it ended up in there in the first place. It was like a bad joke at some point or something. But here's a bunch of stuff. This is actually my best friend, Al. I'm not kidding, it really is him. I'm going to his bachelor party next weekend in Montreal that I have to run. But this is my best friend. I love his picture there. It's just a great picture. What do you need to do? It's a lot of small words. I'm going to go over it, but the bottom line is, I always tell people this: if it was up to me, I wouldn't have a PowerPoint presentation. What I'd have is one word on that screen, and it'd be innovate, and that's all I would say. Is that what we have to do as an industry is truly innovate and change the way we do our business. I was at the SIA MGU conference speaking there a couple weeks ago on catastrophic claims. Last week we were at a great client forum. Glenn was there as well in Nebraska. Who was speaking there from SIA? Jay?
Ritchie.
No, not Jay Ritchie.
Not Jay. He's actually a SIA staff member.
Yeah, he's a lobbyist because SIA. But he was talking about healthcare reform, and everyone in the audience was like, grandfathering. How do we grandfather? How do we grandfather get this? How do we get into this clause? You know, how do we expand? How do we wait as long as possible, physically possible, that this will affect us? I mean, it drove me nuts. I got up on stage and I said, folks, what do you want to do? Deny the inevitable? It's going to happen. Face it, deal with it, and find a solution to it. Because if you just keep on trying to find ways to grandfather out of this, bottom line fact is, you're going to be stuck with it. So face it, deal with it like a man or a woman, and just find solutions to deal with it. Because here's why. When I started my company 10 years ago, my number one competitor, which is still my number one competitor today, that owns one of my biggest competitors, is United Healthcare. I wake up every day thanking God that United Healthcare is my number one competitor. Because they can't move quickly. They can't innovate. They can't change. Okay? Everything they do takes 27 years, 45,000 meetings, 17 levels of vice presidents, and then a memo. Okay? That's how they work. I don't work that way. I know that if we have an idea, we can churn on it quickly. And this is the type of thing that we as an industry can take advantage of, our situation, of all the healthcare reform. I look at it as a positive thing. Don't look at it as a negative. How can we innovate to make our industry get stronger? Tomorrow, I'm going to touch upon healthcare reform. I'm not going to try to bore you. I'm not saying the other people will. But I'll try not to bore you, but by really focusing on things that I think that we can do. But in regards to what your plan document has to have, you have to not only have regulatory compliance in your plan. What I hear all the time is this: Adam, I have a great ERISA lawyer, or the plan has a great lawyer they use. He's been writing their plan doc for 30 years. This company is ERISA experts. Great. But they don't pay claims. They've never paid a claim. They don't know what a HIC reform is. They don't know what an EOB is. And they have no idea what any of the stuff that Glenn was talking about is at all. I do. You need to talk to people who actually work in the industry. You can't just look at what's regulatory. Great. All my corporate provisions are in place. All my HIPAA stuff is right. My high-tech provisions, all that's there. Fabulous. But what are you doing about the most important things that your plans care about? And that is what? They have a fiduciary duty to protect the plan assets to the best possible way. In the best possible way, sorry. Your attorneys don't do that for you. Your attorneys don't know the difference between usual and customary and reasonable. They don't know what a clean claim is. They have no idea that you have, a stop-loss contract that expires at the end of December and 30 days to pay a PPO to get a PPO discount, and you have an exclusion that says illegal acts. And who in the world here even knows what an illegal act is? Because I sure don't. I have no idea what an illegal act is on page 75 of your exclusions. I don't. So how do they know that? So you got to be innovative. You got to change the way you're thinking on that stuff. So what you got to do is say, find things in your plan doc to truly increase plan savings. And what else you got to do? Find a way to stop overcharging. I'm not going to put the blame on all hospitals. I'm not going to get into that. Later on, Glenn, make sure I talk about this TPA in Georgia that did a pilot 3 years ago that I was a part of, and talk about the success story. I'll get into that. But balanced billing. Another big problem. Everyone here has dealt with the balance billing issue where you take, you're trying to be strong, you're taking the fight to the hospital, you're taking the fight to the provider, and what do? They balance bill the patient. Anybody here know why? Do they actually expect them to pay the claims? Oh, how did I do that? All right, sorry. Do they actually expect them to pay the claims?
No.
No. What they know is that plan has stop loss. That plan has hired you as a TPA to pay that claim. That plan paid a premium for stop loss coverage. And when that member gets balance billed, and that member then goes crying to the HR department, and that HR director goes to the president of the plan, and that president of the plan calls you, the vice president of the TPA, the owner of the TPA, and says to you, why in the world is my employee, who's been here for 25 years, getting balance billed for $45,000 when I have stop loss at $50,000 spec? Okay. That's all we do. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I understand why we all do that. Because you want to keep that client, you want to keep that client happy. That makes sense. But the problem is, folks, that the industry knows that we're going to do that every single time. And there's a reason why 25% of the self-insured population over the past 10 years has gone away. And that's the reason why. We have to educate plans and make them realize as well through transparency. That's one of the things about President Obama that I'm very highly approved of. I approve of that highly, is his idea of transparency. Because truly, that's what we need. That's one thing. I know Ed talks a lot. We all know. Sorry, Ed. And he always sits in the front row. And he loves talking about. I know you can't see. I know. He loves talking about transparency, and it's a very important thing. If the population out there actually knew what was happening, what type of charges that we have are submitted to our offices every single day, they would laugh. They'd probably cry too. We have to fight that, and what we can do in your plan language is do that. The next area I want to talk about is definitions. Okay? Define what it is you cover and don't cover. What I think is really cool about the healthcare reform is that it's going to allow us to innovate in ways, not that we will have to limit the benefits that we offer. I think, if anything, we'll be able to expand the benefits that we'll offer. Cost-effective benefits. The plan that I was talking about down in Georgia offers now acupuncture that didn't offer acupuncture 3 years ago. And the plan has saved 60% over a 3-year period of time in their plan costs, without removing benefits, but actually increasing the benefits. And what did? They got rid of their PPO network. But again, I'm not against PPOs. I want to make that clear. Any PPOs that are here, I'm not against you at all. I just think you need to be, kicked in the butt a little bit. But definitions. Clean claim. How many people here actually have a definition of what a clean claim is in your plan doc? If you raise your hand, you're lying. Because you don't. No one here has a definition of clean claim in their plan doc, because I represent 130 TPAs and I've never seen a definition of what a clean claim is. Ever. But wait, what do your PPO contracts say what a clean claim is? It's submitting a UB or a HICVA to your office. That's a clean claim. That's it. So the clock starts ticking on that 30-day, 45-day, whatever it might be in your particular state, time for you to pay that claim. Get the accident details. Do all these things you need to do in that short period of time, and at the same time, the plan's supposed to protect the assets of their particular plan members. How do you do that? I don't know. We're going to talk about COB a little bit, making sure you follow the COB procedures in the correct manner. Most people have really bad COB language. That's another part of your plan doc you really need to focus on. Why? Most plan COB language specifically only caters to motor vehicle accidents. If there's other auto insurance coverage available. That's a big no-no. You don't need that only. You need more than that in that particular provision. Lastly, I want to talk about exclusions. It's really important that you define your exclusions correctly. And I talked about illegal acts. Here's a great one. Hazardous activity. Okay? I probably commit a lot of hazardous activities every weekend. I'm very well aware of that. Now, what's covered, what's not? I have no idea. Because the plan doc doesn't say all the hazardous activities that you can't commit on the Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday. It just it shows a couple. Hang gliding. All right, so can I climb a mountain? Can I parasail, but I can't hang glide?